Have you ever been inside of a silo? The summer before I went off to college, I worked for a couple of weeks on a dairy farm. One of my chores each morning was to go inside of a physical silo on the farm and retrieve some chopped up corn stalks and leaves, take it out to the cows and let them chew on that for a while. When I was inside the silo, I never felt very good. I would feel nauseous or even disoriented. And it wasn't only because it would be stiflingly hot and it just stank to high heaven, but also because my field of vision was constricted by the round walls of the silo. And sometimes I would make the mistake of looking up, and I get the sensation of tunnel vision. Now, silos are great and fine for, farms, for storing things like grain or chopped up corn stalks and leaves. But they're not meant for people. And that's true for metaphorical silos too. And yet, all too often, especially in the 20th century, people spent time in silos. Even people whose greatest purpose in life was to make social change occur. People like environmentalists would stay in their environmentalist silo, and women's liberation or black liberation activists would stay in their respective silos. Labor unionists would stay in their labor silo, and so on and so forth. When those groups did get a win, get a victory, oftentimes it came at the cost of other groups. Just think how much that social change makers could have accomplished if they had broken out of their silos and worked together at places where their respective issues intersected. Now, thankfully, in the 21st century, social change makers are intentionally working together at the intersections. I am a pastor of a local church a little bit west of here, so I know a little bit of what it feels like to work in a metaphorical silo. Churches sometimes get into that sort of stuff. But I am also the leader of a group called the Social Concerns Committee of United Churches of Lycoming County. One of the things I love about this group is that we intentionally break out of our church silos to work with all sorts of people, different church groups and non-Christian groups as well, to work together at the intersections. One of the issues that the Social Concerns Committee of United Churches of Lycoming County is working on is reducing or even eliminating plastic foam from our communities. Perhaps you think plastic foam isn't a very big deal, that, why can't we just recycle it or something? I wish we could, but it's not that simple. Number 6 plastics are notoriously difficult to recycle, and when you puff it up into plastic foam, which you might know better as styrofoam, they're that much harder to recycle. And so all too often, plastic foam products end up not in landfills where they tend to stay for 1,000 years or more as they are breaking down, but they end up in our beloved fields and forests and streams. Now, they break down faster when they're outside, when they're not buried, but as plastic foam breaks down, they decompose into toxic chemicals like styrene and benzene, chemicals that are linked to terrible illnesses like cancer and things in both animals and in humans. Now, perhaps you're still thinking that this is not my issue. Maybe I work more with people in poverty or communities of color. Well, there's a concept that scholars have come up with to describe the intersection of race and environmentalism. They call it environmental racism. The concept is pretty simple. It's that pollution tends to collect in communities that are struggling with poverty and in communities where people of color tend to live. One of the most egregious examples of environmental racism in the recent past was in Flint, Michigan. We in Williamsport do not have to follow that example. We can do better. Now that we are aware of the issue, we can start to take our Lycoming County communities plastic foam free. And we all have a role to play in this. You don't have to be part of a big organization. You don't have to be part of a church. We all have a role. The first step is to just plain raise awareness. I imagine a lot of you have some kind of smartphone in your pocket. Hopefully you've been taking pictures here at the TEDx event. Well, let's take our smartphones, and as we go out and enjoy nature as spring emerges around Williamsport, use those phones to take pictures of the plastic foam pollution that we will inevitably encounter out in the woods or out on the river trail. Believe me, there's tons of plastic foam pollution out there. Take pictures of it, post it to your favorite social media platform, and tag it with the hashtag #PlasticFoamFree. But we can do more than just raise awareness. The best way to go plastic foam free is to prevent plastic foam from getting into our communities in the first place. I've seen a lot of you with reusable cups and so forth. That's a great thing to do. We don't have to use plastic foam cups for our coffee. We have other options. Choose those options to prevent so much plastic foam pollution getting into our beloved woods and fields and streams. The same thing is true for restaurants. We don't have to use plastic foam leftover containers. Bring your own containers and take your leftovers home with you. It is that simple. In the church, we often encourage people to use their spiritual imagination. In church, we often call that the work of the Holy Spirit. And sometimes we experience visions. Well, I have a vision. I have a vision that I want to share with all of you. I have a vision that we all would break out of our silos and we would work together at the intersections. That we will break out of the silos of our churches, break out of the silos of our offices, break out of the silos of our schools, break out of the silos of our studios, break out of the silos of our living rooms. And we will come together and work together at the intersections. Like the intersections at Market Square in downtown Williamsport, or Diamond Square out in Newberry, or that weird intersection on top of the Market Street Hill, the one in front of Brandon Park. I never know how to navigate that intersection. My vision is that we would bust out of our silos, work together at the intersections, and build 21st century communities that are cleaner, more equitable, and more just. Thank you very much.